Hello, and welcome to the newest episode of the Right Stuff Anime Podcast. My name is Thomas Breckenridge. I'm the merchandising manager.
I'm Quinn. I'm a merchandising coordinator.
I'm Chris, also a merchandising coordinator.
And I'm Will. I'm the social media coordinator.
And after a longer than usual break, 3 weeks instead of 2 weeks, we are back. We took a little time off for a nice little extended Labor Day vacation. I know a lot of us took a little extra time off that week.
Oh, yeah.
To get back up from our birthday sale and slowly prepare to descend into our holiday sale. So,
Yeah.
So,
One of us is excited about this.
Yeah, the wave hasn't hit you yet.
Yeah.
Soon.
Yeah, and for a lot of us here, we're preparing for the holiday sale already starting in September. So, yes.
We can never stay in the same season that's actually outside.
Yes.
Yeah.
The joys of online retail.
Yeah.
So, it's been 3 weeks, so all of us have had some free time. So, Quinn, what have you been up to? What have you been reading, watching, anything fun?
I am still working my way through Arta. It is definitely Fushigi Yugi material. I care about the characters just enough to know what's happening in the story, and after I'm done, it's like, yay, the library owns this. I didn't spend my money on it. That's a resounding, go read it type review there. It's okay. I like the idea, but there's that. And then we're recording this, so episode 10 of Given should be out. I have not seen it, but episode 9, oh my gosh, last Friday when I watched it, it's one of those where you just, okay, let's back up and watch that again immediately at the end of the credits. And I did, and it's got an insert song, and I just literally sat on my living room floor and played it multiple times, over and over. It's so good. It's so good. The build-up was so good.
The first volume of the manga is up for pre-order on our site now, too, isn't it? Yep.
Yes. Yeah, I got in Monday morning. I'm like, hey, we need to put this up on the site. People want this. They're slobbering over it.
I want this.
Yes, good. That too.
People want this because I want this.
Yes. You're welcome.
I understand the will of the consumers.
I am the consumer. But it's like the build up to the story has been slow and methodical. Like they're doing it on purpose, but it's all for this build up in episode 9, and I'm sure there's going to be not a finish to this particular season just because there's more material than possible to get fit into it. But the arc itself, I think, is going to have a nice conclusion. And it's amazing to realize that in the last 5 minutes of the show that Mafuya has been more reserved than he normally is and has an actual personality because he's actually dealing with grief this whole time, which I think we've all known, but we didn't realize how much it's been hitting him. And to hear such a powerful voice behind the song when he finally gets it sung, because they've only given little snippets of any kind of music in this, it's so powerful. It's really good. So I would highly recommend that. That's what I've been ranting about in Joy and Rapture for the last week. There was lots of happy conversation at lunch one day. We were
about
just
this
going
show?
on. Yes.
So there's multiple people working here that are watching it right now?
Yes, one of Will's coworkers is
okay.
also very giddy about it. We went on with about probably a 20-minute conversation about this or more.
Yeah.
We both didn't feel quite so obsessed anymore when both of us had been doing the same obsessive stuff.
Mm-hmm. Cool. All right, Chris, what have you been up to?
All right, what I've been starting to get into now is now that it's finally gone up on Netflix, Carol and Tuesday. Mm-hmm. That's been a highly anticipated one this past season. It's the newest series from Shinichiro Watanabe, who's a very accomplished director. He did Cowboy Bebop, Samurai Champloo, Space Dandy was one of his more recent ones. And this one's kind of cool because it's got a lot of sci-fi stuff, but it is a music show. It just happens to take place on Mars. If you're not familiar with it, it's pretty much two girls who are amateur musicians. One decides to run away from home and move to the big city. The other one's already been roughing it, going from job to job in said big city. They end up meeting each other, improvising music on the spot together, and deciding they want to become a musical act. But the struggle is that in the future on Mars, the music industry is very rigid and very technical. Like, music is not written by people anymore. It's just done by AI algorithms. And
so it's dubstep.
Pretty much.
All
It's
dubstep.
dubstep meets K-pop.
But so it's these two
The
girls
industry.
trying to make these classic organic songs, and them trying to build like a crowd for it. And it's interesting because they first go viral because a producer for one of these high-tech musical acts ends up seeing them crash the stage during a sound check and performing on the spot. He posts it on YouTube, and it goes viral because in the future there's still YouTube, there's still Instagram, there's still all the social media we have nowadays. So
Just no one can write their own songs.
yeah. But it's interesting because it also parallels it with a girl named Amanda, who seems to be a model that wants to be a singer, but just for the fame. And so she's doing it the quote-unquote old-fashioned way. So her mother's dragged her way to a Svengali who has the AI computer program that is, this is the song perfectly tuned for your voice, and we got this machine that's rigorously trying to adjust your throat so you actually sing quote-unquote right. And so it's interesting to see her struggle against the reins and just try and do it for the fame, while these two are just having a good time doing it organically. It's a lot of fun. They do reference some of the previous Watanabe works in there, like somebody's watching their cell phone and the robot from Space Dandy is just on that cell phone video, and just like, it makes me wonder if there's this shared universe he's got planned, but it just seems to be a lot of fun. It's very light. The music is wonderful. I could not suggest it higher. So like the first half of it is all up on Netflix because it's Netflix and they think we should binge everything now, so they waited until there were 12 episodes before they posted it.
So have you seen Kids on the Slope?
Not yet, but I picked it up in a
Yeah.
recent sale, so
Yes.
I'm excited to check
Once
it
you're
out.
done with Carol and Tuesday, watch that one.
Yeah.
And if you like the musical aspect of Carol and Tuesday,
Definitely
you'll
on my
really
list.
like
And then go
Kids
watch
on the
Kevin.
Slope. Yeah.
It's got music too.
Dot.
Exactly. There hasn't been much of that. FYI.
Music or the dot.
The dot.
Dot.
There's more music, but not by much.
Yeah. Cool. All right. Well, what have you been up to?
Oh, I've been still getting through my backlog. I've been kept watching Space Dandy. I watched a couple of great episodes back to back. The first one was when Space Dandy and Meow ended up on an alien planet where it's all plants. But what's weird is that the art style changed when they got on the planet. So like Watanabe must have let somebody else, some other like popular rising director, take over for him for an episode, and oh man, it's awesome. It's totally weird and totally out there because the idea is that these plants have become sentient, so they have all these weird looking like microbes or plant looking creatures that are just like all these like crazy designs, but something that I could never think of myself. It's something I don't think I could ever see anywhere else. So it was something I really enjoyed a lot. And then the episode after that was when they went to Meow's home planet, and we got to see his life and his family. And like I wasn't expecting it to be like as like I guess down to earth, I guess is what it says. I mean, there's a little sci-fi aspect to it as well, but like it really like shows like a kind of like a really like humble origins for Meow, and like how his family act and stuff is really just feels like very lifelike, or just something that's very relatable. And it was something I wasn't expected to be so touched by an episode about Meow as I was.
It's a slice of life in the middle of your space.
Yeah, but it's like his dad gets to do the picture, and you think like, oh, Meow was supposed to take over the family business, but he's not, and you expect the dad to be all like mad and everything, but he couldn't be more proud of his son going out and like trying to live the life he wants to live. It's awesome.
Have you got to the dog cosmonaut episode yet?
No.
Let me know when you get to that one.
Okay.
That's my favorite one. So, no, Space Dandy. I think they have that in a complete collection on Blu-ray now,
Yep.
so that is totally worth picking up.
Oh yeah.
So, for me, I've had a busy couple of weeks, so I haven't been able to watch a lot. I've done the usual keep up on Demon Slayer, keep up on Astra Lost in Space, which has still been an absolutely awesome adaptation of the manga. Vinland Saga is always a much watch every Sunday for me. They are going to be on a week delay here because of weather. But the one big thing I did is I went to Crunchyroll Expo recently, and I was going to go do a bunch of Junji Ito stuff, so I read and watched a bunch of Junji Ito stuff. And his collection that is currently streaming on Crunchyroll, and you can purchase it on Blu-ray from Funimation. I went and watched all those after I had reading all of his short works, and I wish I could say I liked it more, but the way that the art adapted his like manga style, it just didn't work out. Like I didn't get the same like feeling of dread and stuff like that I got when reading the manga, and it was really kind of unfortunate because like his stuff is so detailed, and like his stories are so great, and just the way they kind of adapted it unfortunately wasn't the best in the world. And I'll get to kind of another idea of his adaptation when I talk about Crunchyroll here in a second, but I also watched Gyo, Tokyo Fish Attack, which honestly is just like the manga is great. It's not his best work, but it's really good. But the animated version of it reminds me of Sharknado. And it is
I think it
just
reminded everybody of Sharknado.
rough CG. The main girl just like she gets like thrown into cars. Like when she gets like rammed, like her corpse just flails in the air and then hits the ground the hardest possible. And then she gets up like nothing's fine. There's multiple points in it when I watch her just get hit, and I'm like, yeah, she should be dead, but nope, she just gets up and she goes, oh, that sucked. And it was just those two, like, it's sad that those two so far have been the adaptations of his work, but like all of his manga stuff, Uzumaki is great. I got through like Shiver, I reread Tome, like his stuff is just amazing. Like, yeah, so it's just been mostly a binge of Junji Ito stuff to get ready for Crunchyroll, which leads me into our next part. Just a little overview of Crunchyroll. So I went to Crunchyroll Expo as a vacation / have a panel there. And I was lucky enough to go to a couple of Junji Ito panels. I went to the one where he kind of just did a freestyle drawing of a work he was working on. That was really cool to see how much detail and how he just goes about like creating these drawings. Like, unfortunately, with the time period, he only really got to draw the hair of the character. But even just watching that, like, it was pretty amazing, like how he just like delicately did it. When they were interviewing him too, like they would interview him while he was drawing, so he would have to stop drawing to answer questions. So he didn't really get as far as he wanted to. The coolest part at the end of that panel was they made the announcement that Uzumaki is going to be adapted, and the director behind it is the person who did Mushishi, which is so beautiful.
Yes.
And it looks like the style is going to be all black and white. And I honestly, just watching the trailer of it, am like, this is the way his stuff should be adapted. Like, just that style. It looks like it's going to be beautiful, and they're finally going to get it right. And it's going to premiere in America before Japan on Toonami, which is insane. So I think it's a cross thing between Toonami and Japan. One of the cool things they said about it too is they went to a shrine in Japan and went through a certain ceremony to ask forgiveness, so they won't be cursed because of the material they were making. And they had one of the American guys from Toonami there, and just you can tell like he's really nervous. And like at the end, the girl from the company that's like producing it in Japan, she's just like, "Oh, I could tell so and so was nervous, and he made mistakes. So hopefully we don't get cursed."
Hopefully.
It was just a kind of a funny way to end it, but
I feel like that's what somebody would have said when they opened Tutankhamun's
Yep.
tomb. Oh, hopefully we don't get cursed.
yeah.
Well,
Fine.
too bad.
Yeah.
But no, it's cool. He's really, really down to earth. He's got a really good sense of humor too, which I find a lot of horror writers to think of these things. You have to have a good sense of humor. They're very dark. They're very out of the ordinary. So usually when you think of you read this stuff and you picture the person that making it, you're like, oh, he must be crazy, and it's like, oh no, he's just super funny, kind of normal, quirky guy. So, and lucky enough was able to meet him and get an autograph, shake his hand. So that was that was the highlight of the whole thing. I also caught a preview for a new anime coming out, and it'll be winter 2020 called Somali to Mori no Kami-sama, I think is how it's pronounced. But so the premise behind this is there was a great war between basically like mythical beast and humans, and the mythical beasts win and almost eradicate all humans. And any humans that are still alive, if they're caught, they're killed. So humans are basically like the worst of the worst. It follows a little girl who, how do I put it? A golem finds this little girl, and he disguises this little girl as like a demon by giving her like a little hoodie that makes it look like she has little demon ears.
Oh, God.
It's very adorable, and there's a lot of cute stuff, and she is very much like a 4-year-old girl. Like, oh, curiosity, what's this? What's that do? Who are you? Nice to meet you. And this poor like golem creature who is trying to like protect her is just like, can you just stay next to me and like not do anything because you're gonna get yourself killed? And there's a part in it where like she like sees a cat, and what does a 4-year-old do when they see a cat? I'm gonna follow it and grab the tail. And like the cat, she follows the tail of the cat, and then eventually the cat like corners her and is just like, you smell really weird. I can't put my paw on it, but you smell like something. And then like luckily the golem shows up and goes, get out of here, cat, and like blows a super eye laser at him and stuff. But I can tell that this thing is going to get very, very dark. It seems I missed the first 5 minutes, so I might have missed some of the context, but it seems the golem is trying to get her back to her people, and he doesn't exactly know where the humans are hiding, but he's going to go try to find a way to get her to safety. It's going to be a long trek. I don't think it's going to get like Made in Abyss dark, but I think there's going to be some pretty dark parts. She's pretty naive to the fact that if they were to figure out who she is, they would kill her.
This kind of sounds like the girl from the other side manga.
Oh yeah,
Slightly.
yeah. It looks beautiful. The cities are really well imagined. The creatures are really well imagined. She refers to the golem as Dad. So I think they're kind of trying to fake people out with that. And the whole thing too is she sees there's a scene in it where she sees a couple, like a little girl and her father, and the little girl's holding the father's hand, and she sees like the golem and like, oh, you're my dad, I should be able to do that. And he doesn't think on emotional terms. He thinks in logical terms, like, you should stay close to me because it makes sense. So like at the end of the episode, she like goes up and like holds his hand and goes like, oh, this is what like daughters and fathers do. And he's like, well, will this make you stay close? Yep. Cool. Let's do it then. And then like she's super overjoyed because she thinks they're closer, and he's just like, well, at least she's not going to run away now. So it was super adorable. I'm actually really excited to see this when this comes out. I wasn't able to catch anything else, but I did see that. We did have a panel at Crunchyroll Expo, and we had 2 awesome announcements. Gundam NT, which we released on Blu-ray through Bandai, kind of a little bit more of an expensive Ultra Edition. We are going to be releasing under our own label for way less, probably $24, $22 will probably be the price on that. So everybody's been waiting to get that for a little bit cheaper. We're going to be able to deliver that. And then Afterward Gundam X, we are going to bring onto Blu-ray, which has always been my favorite alternative century Gundam. I don't know if anybody's seen.
I haven't seen
Afterward.
It's been on my list, but
Yeah.
just the design seemed really cool in that series, so I'm excited for that one.
Yeah, it's like a little like space boat adventure, and like it has like little like ideas of like Gundam Wing and stuff. Like the ideas of Gundam Wing that I liked, I guess I wasn't a huge fan of Gundam Wing, but Afterward, it's like 52 episodes, but it's a really good series. So those 2 will be coming to Blu-ray next year, as well as the one that everybody's been waiting for, which is Gundam Seed.
That would be one of our coworkers who goes insane.
Yes,
Yeah.
Gundam Seed. So
Thomas is thrilled.
yeah, not my favorite Gundam, but I know everybody loves it. I think like I was from there's like 2 like groups of like. There's 3 groups of people. There's the people who saw, like were on the original Gundam. They knew what it was. They got the fan tapes. They're the people, the Toonami generation that saw the Gundam Wing, and then there were the generation that saw Gundam Seed.
Yeah.
And those are like the generations of like Gundam fans I've kind of gone to know. I haven't seen a lot of people who said that Iron-Blooded Orphans was their first Gundam. I think a lot of people just kind of watched it knowing what Gundam was, but I haven't met anybody yet that were like, oh yeah, Iron-Blooded Orphans was my first Gundam. So I see those 3 tribes are kind of where the Gundam fans kind of come from. So
It's like the first Star Wars movies.
yes,
Oh, yeah.
yeah. Which Star Wars movie was your first?
Do you like the Ewoks or do you not like the
Oh
Ewoks?
God, does that make me an Anakin trilogy guy? Oh.
Yeah. No, you can just say that you saw the special editions in theaters first.
Yeah.
That's what I
Yeah,
always
sure.
say. So, But yeah, that's kind of what we've been up to. So we are bringing back Massacre Dub Theater since the last one we did. So this one Quinn came up with, and it's from one of her favorite shows of all time.
Well, not all time, but I enjoy it way.
She enjoys it more than anybody at this table. How about we put it that way? So she came up with a scene, and Chris, Will, and I will be acting it. Will and I will be acting out female parts, so please forgive us for our terrible sounding voices.
I've got a bit of a sore throat, so if you hear any cracking, that's why.
Yeah, Chris is lucky he gets to act as a male character, so not a lot of change, but probably a lot of shouting. So
It's something I'm good at.
yeah. So we're going to go ahead and get started on this, and Quinn's going to let us off here.
And action.
Master Thief Lupin, your soul has become a magic egg. It is pure evil. And now we've come to claim it. Just look, Marcy, your stance is off again. The two of you aren't even in a line.
Oh, I'm so sorry, Chuck.
Chuck, do you really think now is the time to be worried about that?
Yes, I do. I want it to be perfect every time.
I know, but do you think that this once, maybe?
Why is Lupin dancing on that bag?
How many times do I have to tell you everything must be in perfect balance? Symmetry is what makes the world beautiful.
He ran away. He ran away!
Marcy, why can't you be quiet and listen when I'm talking? Is that so much to ask, huh?
Okay.
Symmetry is key. Everything must be aesthetically pleasing.
Oh, wonderful. Here we go.
That's why I use the two of you as twin pistols in order to preserve symmetry. When I hold you both, I'm completely balanced, on the right and left. It isn't perfect because your human forms are so different from each other, though. Your hairstyles and your height, for example, even your boobs are different sizes.
Excuse me for being smaller than my little sister. What right do you have to talk about symmetry anyway? 3 stripes on the left side of your hair and none on the right? That doesn't look symmetrical to me.
You're right. I'm an abomination. I'm filthy and dirty and unbalanced. Why is there only one set of stripes? Garbage. Asymmetrical garbage. I just want to die.
Yeah, and here we go. Marcy?
Yes?
Now, Chuck. You can't forget that you're a Grim Reaper. Compared to that, what do 3 little lines matter?
Yeah, Chuck. You're not garbage. If you were garbage, then you'd smell a lot worse. So why don't we just get up and try again, okay?
You don't think I'm asymmetrical garbage? Really?
No, of course not.
Garbage is you, and you're not.
All right, then. Let's report to my father.
Not the sharpest tool in the shed, is he? These little rich kids are always so gullible.
And
Scene.
Cool.
Excuse me.
Guys.
All right, so if you
So
survived
silly.
that terrible acting from the 3 of us and know what dub that anime comes from, you can email us over at rspodcast@rightstuff.com and let us know what it is, and you can win a free gift card and a t-shirt.
Ooh, we're
So-
up in the stakes.
Yeah, get that swag.
So, t-shirt, $25 gift card, doesn't get much better than that for trying to figure out what terrible, terrible acting that anime came from. So, all right. So, the big project we have been working on for our review today is coming up soon. Shinkai's got a new movie coming out, Weathering With You, which seems to be getting as much hype as Your Name did.
Yeah. Really.
So that's really exciting that the follow-up to that is going to be probably just as good. It's doing super well over in Japan, and we'll see if it breaks the record at Your Name, which it has the possibility to do. They're already getting ready for it to be in Oscar contention this year. Your Name, unfortunately, kind of fell at a weird time where it never was able to be nominated for an Oscar, but this one I think is going to be up for Best Animated One if it gets voted in, which from what it sounds like it's probably going to.
Yep.
So to get ready for Weathering With You, we decided to look back at some of the works of Shinkai. Preferably we looked at Voices of a Distant Star, 5 centimeters per second, Garden of Words, and Your Name. The ones we did miss, we did not do The Place Promised in their early days. And we also didn't do, what is the other one?
Children Who Chase Less Voices.
Children Who Chase Less Voices, which to me is just like a really bad photocopy Studio Ghibli film.
I didn't even know that was a Makoto Shinkai thing
Yeah.
until you told me, and I'm like, what?
Yeah.
No.
To me, I think it is probably his worst work.
Yeah.
Probably followed by the day promised in the early days. Yeah, that's a tongue twister.
Yeah.
We skipped that one too, just because that was probably not one of his best ones. So,
And big warning too, if you're not already aware, we're gonna have spoilers.
Yeah,
So
we're gonna spoil all of it.
spoilers.
So we also did anybody get to watch Gathering of Cats?
No, I
Yeah.
forgot about that.
Oh yeah, that one's cute. It's only a minute long. It just basically the idea. He has a thing for cats, which who doesn't? But it basically shows. It's a cute little video on YouTube. It's literally called Gathering of Cats. 1 minute. Just hop on and watch it. It's super hilarious compared to some of his stuff that's a little bit more sadder. He also did another short. I'm not sure the name of it. It came out 2013 or 14. He was partnership with a real estate company. It's basically about a girl who moves out, and like her father is like, you should come visit, and she's always like, I'm too busy, like my life's great, don't worry, Dad, but her life actually really sucks, but she doesn't want to tell him because she loves her dad. And then there's eventually an event that happens, and like it brings her back home to kind of relive stuff. There's a cat in this one too. All I can say is this 8-minute short made me water up a little bit, and I was just like, how the hell do you do this, Shinkai? How do you do this? But that one is really worth watching too if you like shorts, and like I said, that one's only 8 minutes. I don't think there's an English name for it, but I'll try to look for the name of it while we're talking here. So kind of just to get things started, we'll just kind of talk about I think the best way to kind of go about it is we'll just each talk about which work we like the most from him and which one we like the least. So Quinn, why don't you start us off?
Out of all of these, like, I really like Your Name, but I watched Garden of Words, and this would be the second time, and they're years apart, and I don't remember being so moved the first time, so I don't know if it was like I just didn't get it, or if it was just too much, scenery shots, but I really appreciated the scenery in that one. So I'm going to go with Garden of Words for my favorite, even though I really like Your Name as well. And I just think it's really beautiful, and the animation quality, oh my gosh, that's such a jump up from 5 centimeters per second.
That's
and Voices
insane.
of a Distant Star. Like, Voices of a Distant Star, I put that back in and I'm going, whoa.
It was the
All
first,
right.
It was the first time too that his characters were finally on model. Like even 5
Oh.
centimeters per second, like there are parts where like the character's a little rough looking.
Oh yeah.
And then they go to like Garden of Words and you're like, holy
Yeah,
crap.
it's like,
Yeah.
it's like,
Yeah.
geez. I was mostly in my head going, someone else was helping.
Yeah.
I feel like someone was like, fix this.
Yeah, I think the company he works with is Comix or what it is.
Yeah, Comix.
And his studio, the more popular he got, the more people that he had at his studio. So you can tell that
Yeah.
like his crew was amassing and getting way bigger. So
Yeah, and I liked at the very end, I was laughing when in the credits it said that the park was based on a real life place, but it does not allow alcohol and tobacco use.
yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Because she's sitting in there
The
drinking the
disclaimer.
whole time.
That was a cool little display.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And I liked also the uniqueness of the teenagers want to be a shoemaker. I mean, how do you even
Yeah.
get into that?
Mhm.
Yeah, I liked the messages of all of the movies. I liked how there's always that silver lining and how people can connect. I'm gonna dump all over the fact that I noticed something watching these back to back that just annoyed me after I realized it, but Shinkai likes to do the whole build up, find the climax, emotional moment, and then, all right, my work is done here, and then he walks off and kind of just leaves you hanging.
Yeah.
And I'm going, dude, there's got to be what are you? That's the end.
Yeah.
And I mean, it works in Your Name because there's that conclusion enough where they meet and find each other again that you're like, oh, they found each other, and that's all you were wanting. Whereas in like Garden of Words, I was, are you gonna go
Terrible.
find her?
Okay.
Are you gonna do anything? What's going on?
I was gonna wait till I brought it up, but
I know, right?
Garden of Words, I completely agree. Garden of Words ending is terrible. Like it's literally like
It's that high
it-
climax point of crying, oh, Kleenex, and then
It is an
credits.
emotional like explosion, and then like here's a J-pop song.
Oh, God,
And
yes.
then it's just like what the
Oh.
hell? Like you didn't even let anybody like take in the emotional reaction, and here's a song.
The friggin' montages. They're in all of them. I'm like,
Yeah.
stop it. Just Stop it.
It's like, oh, here's a
Oh.
J-pop song, and there's a train, and here's some rain, and it's like the greatest hits of Shinkai. Yeah. Oh my god, it made me so annoying. But like, I think that's where I come to the part with like Garden of Words could have been 15 minutes shorter.
It could
I
have
think
been a little longer and had a conclusion and no music.
Oh god, that ending, yeah, it's
Ah.
and there's a little. I think if I remember, there's a little bit after. No,
There's a
little bit after the
smidgen
credits.
After the credits.
Yeah, I think I can't remember if that came at the end or after the credits.
And I think it's only there to have a little bit of conclusion because he's like, yeah, in a few years maybe I'll go see her, and then bam, it's the actual end, and I'm like, that didn't help.
I like to think of Garden of Words as like Shinkai's flex on his like him and his studio's ability to animate and do stuff like oh look how cool this is, and here's kind of a story.
Yeah, and I mean it has that unique look to it too.
Yeah.
It's got kind of a pastel, like almost a glow about everything.
Yeah. So no, Garden of Words. I knew that ending was coming too, and I was like, I can't wait till I almost feel something and then just have a song thrown in my face. But God. So you said that Garden of Words is your favorite overall, or would you say?
I would say overall,
Yeah.
I'd still stick with Your Name.
Okay.
But Garden of Words, just on the rewatch, it felt more powerful than it did the first time I watched it.
Yeah.
But yeah, your Name would definitely take the cake. But it's also the newest, and I'm like, and I see why it's probably on the top of my list because you've had all these other films where you dinked around and tried to figure out how to better present things. So.
Cool. Chris, what about you? What was your favorite? What was your
I'm
least
pretty
favorite?
much in the same boat as far as like favorite one because like Your Name, like this compared to all the other ones, it's like he finally figured out how to do a complete movie from start to finish because you've got build up, you've got a point of tension when it turns out that they realize that they're separated by 3 years and not just swapping back and forth every now and then. But then also, it has an ending. It has a resolution. People get together and they meet. And also, the one thing that I thought was also noticeable in here, this is the most character work I felt he had done with any characters. Like Mitsuo, the girl, she was very helpful with the local community doing temple work. Taki, the boy, he had a life where he was like working as a server at a restaurant. And he had friends he would joke around with. There's the older server woman who was kind of into him, and so Mitsuo set him up on a date without him knowing about it. So, and it was fun to see stuff like that because it felt like very much characters, and I feel like that's one of the things that sort of hurt my opinions of the other ones is just like their character definition was just like boy and girl. Like that's the character that you've got built. And like that's one of the things that you could see him building towards that because as we get further along in these movies from start to finish, they get more character and background to them. And that's what I think was really good is like Your Name seems to be finally Makoto Shinkai figuring out how to do a full movie and hitting it on all cylinders.
Yeah.
And like some of the cool things that connect all these, like just him putting a ton of detail into mundane situations otherwise. Like he can make a train stop look like the most beautiful thing in the world, and it's just fascinating that he can put that much detail and that much like little touch in the colors where it's just like, oh man, I could spend 20 seconds waiting for this train to pass and be not at all disappointed.
There was a scene in Garden of Words where I literally thought it was a live action of the rain.
Yeah.
I was like, is that real?
Yes,
So,
the rain effects in Garden of Words were just so awesome.
Yeah.
But as far as his least favorite goes, I feel like 5 centimeters per second may have been that one for me
I can rant about that.
because like
No, I'm not trying to interrupt you, Chris, but I love so far that everybody has a different opinion.
Yeah.
It always makes me super happy.
And that's a sign of a good filmmaker. It's
Yeah.
like you get all these different angles that you didn't look at before. But with 5 centimeters per second, that once again fell in the slot of not a lot of characterization. Like you had Takaki, who was just a boy who was good friends with the Karia girl, and then Takaki had to move away. And it felt like it was like, because obviously one of the big themes of Shinkai's movies, at least taking these 4 as a sample, is distance. He's finding a way, like putting massive distances, whether like distance literally, as in Voices of a Distant Star, or more mundane distance, as in 5 centimeters, or like the double feature from a Garden of Words where it's both they only ever meet when it rains, And also, it turns out that Takao, the teen, is like 12 years younger than the girl that he ends up having emotional connection with. Yukari, the turns out failed teacher at his school. Not failed, set up to get kicked out unfairly. That's a brutal story. But 5 centimeters per second, it's just like it's 3 parts. The first one is just, I'm taking a really crappy train trip to see this girl. And it's kind of nice. The second one is just like, he's just distracted thinking about the same girl, to the fact that like there's another girl that crushes on him and tries to express her feelings but never does, because clearly he's thinking about something else. And then the third chapter is just like, he's grown up, still has feelings for her.
Third chapter.
Yeah. The third montage music number.
It's like 5 minutes.
Oh my god.
But they sort of run into each other and then never meet. Nothing
Did they
is.
run into each other?
They notice each other on a train, and they wait, and then she's gone by the time the train passes at the
I
end.
don't even remember that.
Yeah.
I was ranting at the TV. I was like, why is this guy who was so nice at the beginning suddenly dead inside?
Yeah.
I'm like, how did he get to be so dead?
Because he's just so damn hung up on this girl.
He's so mad. And
But-
then music montage, rant. And
But that's the one where it's like Shinkai did not figure out how to get across that finish line, so nothing is resolved. Like, Kanai, the girl with the crush, just is forever haunted by this guy she could have had, and then Takaki and Akari never get together. They just live miserable salaryman lives in Tokyo. It's so frustrating. You want to at least have some resolution, like one of them gets a puppy or something. But no, it's just everybody's miserable, and I was just like, come on.
Didn't the main
wrap it
girl,
up.
she was getting married to somebody, though.
Was she?
Yeah.
Okay. You see, I totally forgot that.
See, yeah, it's not.
Are you talking about
5 centimeters per second.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, because she's getting married because she was visiting her parents, and they
Well,
were
clearly
like,
it's going to be a
you can
loveless
back here.
relationship.
I don't know. I was like, well, she's apparently forgotten about him, poor guy.
Maybe
I don't know.
Maybe that's just toxic masculinity is the big plot line of this movie.
I don't know. I think
I only have
somebody.
feelings for one woman, and I will never change.
Yeah, I think somebody once said something to the effect that if only the characters would pick up the phone and call each other, this
Right?
could have been saved. And it's like, they obviously have phones. Come on, guys. Apparently they've got a phone phobia. Who knows?
Or maybe their parents are just really pissed off about the long distance bits.
Yeah.
They called too many 1-900 numbers in the late 80s to talk to RoboCop, and they're making up for that.
RoboCop.
Yeah.
Is there-
Or Fresh Prince and DJ Jazzy Jeff. That, honestly, I did that when I was a kid. My parents were pissed off. I spent like $200 on long distance just talking to pro wrestlers.
Oh.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, real talk.
Oh no.
So maybe it's one of those.
Maybe. That's
maybe.
the best explanation I've heard.
Yeah.
If we put it in the movie, it will not make it any worse or better.
It's overly specific, but very sensitive.
So what 5 centimeters per second needs is RoboCop. I think that's a summary right there.
We could take the robots from Voices of a Distant Star and put them in 5
There we
meters
go.
per second.
Yep.
Those robots that they stole from Castle in the Sky, whatever. All right. Well,
Hey, he made it on a Power Mac.
yeah. All right. Yeah. All right. Well, what was your favorite and least favorite Shinkai?
This is kind of tough. I feel that Garden of Words edges out Your Name by just a smidge. Only because I feel like Garden of Words is able to do in 40 minutes what Your Name was able to do at the same time in 2 hours.
That's a good point.
I do like the efficient part of storytelling. Obviously, Your Name's ending is way better than that, but I just feel like Garden of Words is able to do a lot of what Your Name does in a shorter amount of time. And of course, I really like how everything just looks. The weather is beautiful and everything. I don't know. I mean, I feel like a string for me in Shinkai's films is that his characters seem to be underdeveloped overall consistently. So that kind of hurts Your Name more because he's got 2 hours to develop these characters and he doesn't do that a whole lot. But in like Garden of Words, it's like he's only got 40 minutes. You can't really fault a guy for not doing enough in 40 minutes. Probably like my least favorite. Voices of a Distant Star. I mean, it's the most easy one to poke the flaws at.
Yeah.
You know, but I mean, it's hard to fault. Like it was just him and his girlfriend that did the voices. He was the one who had to do all the drawing, and even if like all the CGI looks straight out of a PlayStation game, it's like, I mean, it's just him. That's all he can really do with his shoestring budget.
Yeah,
I
he
think that was
just,
the most
like I said, he
impressive thing
did
at
it
the
on
time.
his home computer, which in itself is an awesome feat. But at the same time, the story was just like, to me, it felt like Gunbuster with cell phones,
And cell phones don't work that way either.
right?
Oh.
I especially love the on the phone display. It's like, sending time. This is going to take 9 years to email. Like, are you just stuck on that screen until the email finishes sending? What if Danny wants to go get lunch in the commissary later on before we get to the station? Oh, I don't know. I'm still friggin' emailing Takao or whatever. No, not Noboru. Let's get the names right. I'm looking at my sheet.
Cool. All right. So I'm gonna go against everyone and say that my favorite one was Voices of a Distant Star, and my least favorite was Garden of Words. So I'm in a completely different boat. So the reason why I like Voices of a Distant Star, it might be a nostalgia thing because I did see it way back in the early 2000s and was blown away with it. So to the thing about the graphics looking like PlayStation 1 graphics. Funny story, before Shinkai started making his own work and doing anime, he did cutscenes for PlayStation 1 JRPGs. So
Makes
that's
sense.
why they look so similar. For Voices of the Distant Star, I really like the fact that it was a female character being the one that went out to space, and it was a guy waiting on her. Because I felt like a lot of the tropes have always been like, oh, he's the big bad spaceman and he's super good at the Gundam and the girl's gonna wait at home for him. And this one was like she's like higher education. She's the one that gets picked and he has to wait at home and kind of wait for her, and he has to go through all those feelings that usually the female character has to go through. And I love the imagery of her just in that shell, kind of like curled up and just kind of just floating there in that nothingness. Like because like his later stuff is like, if somebody's floating in nothingness, it's not really nothingness because it's like beautiful imagery everywhere. And like Voices of the Distant Star was like, he still used like blacks and darkness and voids and stuff like that. And later on, like he's still like, I want this person to feel like shut off and lonely, but here's some beautiful trees. And it can kind of be hard to get that emotion through. So I felt like Voices of the Distant Star was like when he was still like true, kind of a little bit more true to himself, and he was still thinking about those kind of things. And I like the ending of it too, where you're kind of just left to, you don't know if she's going to make it back, and
I don't know. They were kind of screwed there at the end.
Yeah.
That alien fleet. I'm like,
you can still have a it is very dark, but I don't know. There's a little bit of ambiguity there, I guess, with it, but I just like it. It's 14 minutes long. You know exactly kind of what's going on. They don't have to be like, well, here's 10 minutes to be like, in 20 whatever, these aliens attacked Earth.
Its setup was pretty
good.
good.
Like I completely knew exactly what was going on, and I didn't need any info dumps. So I really, really appreciated that. And then the biggest thing for me is him and his wife made it. Like that's pretty freaking incredible that they created this thing with, Max back in 2001. And I know it is pretty dated now, but I would kill for like an updated version of it now with
that would be awesome,
like really amazing graphics.
Like they actually put a plot to it, like we can see he can do now.
Yeah. One thing with Voices of the Distant, like I remember the nostalgia factor of it too, because I dug out my old DVDs and got to see ADV 10th Anniversary Edition. It was great nostalgia on that.
Right?
But it's like the context that's there is just, it's so relatable for the time frame. And then like you were saying, he did the graphics for the PlayStation, and it's like, oh, that nostalgia trip down there too. I think that what I would love to see is more showing rather than telling, because it seemed like a lot of exposition over just pretty scenery.
Yeah, like I said, I'd love to see an updated version of it now with everything he's learned and his team, and I'd like to see if he can still keep that spirit that I really loved about it in it still with all that updated stuff. So, and maybe a little bit of a difference in the whole cell phone usage. We'll see.
Get something better than a Nokia.
Yeah, that's the thing though. Is
the
theme throughout is it always
die,
is
but
cell
Nokia will
phones.
live on. It'll send that message no matter how long it takes.
Yeah.
It will.
I changed my number.
I mean, yeah, that's
wondered
one
about
thing.
that.
That would be the great response.
Yeah.
9 years later, sorry, I've still got you in my phone, at my address book. This is my new number now. If you're
Yeah.
still interested, text me in the next hour.
So-
you were saying something.
No, it's okay. I was just gonna say, Garden of Words is beautiful. Don't get me wrong. I was like, that is the point where you're like, okay, he has finally hit his niche at like what imagery he wants to go with his work.
Mhm.
Like, I really loved it, but God, I just did not like either of those characters at all, and that ending, like Quinn had brought up, just made me so infuriated that it's just like, oh, here comes the big emotional like gut punch, and like, you know, his build up was there, and then like it gave you like no room to like take it. The best example is just take any famous like movie of a big dramatic scene, and like think about how like there's those pauses in between people saying things for you to kind of take in what was said and analyze it. He's just like, let me dump it all on you and then go to a song, and it's like,
it's upbeat and cheery. It's
Yeah.
like, no.
Yeah.
But I mean, with Voices of a Distant Star, Your Name is right up there for me. One of the big reasons I like Your Name is it was the first time that these characters, even though the events were happening to them, these characters I wouldn't consider lonely. They had friends.
Yeah.
Their friends were developed. Like, you
They
liked
have
it when they
lives.
hung out
Yeah.
with their friends and stuff like that. She had a grandma, and she was a great character. Like, he finally, like, just didn't have boy and girl, loneliness, sadness, nostalgia, all this kind of stuff. It was just like, if, like, let's say the comet never would have hit, and these two would have never switched bodies. These two would have probably had really normal, great lives and stuff like that. And the other ones, it always just felt like these characters were always in like, if I don't have this person, I'm gonna be miserable.
Yeah.
And even like, and then they always do like the end of his works is there's always a scene of like a couple years later or whatever, and like they're still longing for each other, and it's kind of like, well, they're never gonna
And they happen
get
to
over
see each
this.
other on the train at the
Yeah.
end.
But like both these, like
Always.
in Your Name, like they eventually, you know, the post-credit scene, they like see each other, and they ask your name and all that kind of stuff, and they get brought together. So I don't know, Your Name, I think finally got it right. Like, don't just focus on these two. Make sure the supporting cast is good as well. So
Make sure there is a supporting cast.
yeah, make sure there's a supporting cast. So, and I haven't really done a lot of research into it, but I think that Your Name was the first one where he came up with the idea of the story, but it was written by other people. And I think a lot of the other stuff that he
Tap in
made,
your forehead.
Yeah.
he wrote himself, and I think that might have been why like it didn't resonate as much with me. And like Your Name is just, it's so good. Like, if Weathering with Weathering You is going to be as good as that, I'm super excited.
Yeah.
So
I'm just curious about the high school girlfriend that had to move away from him that he can't get over. That's gotta be why this keeps on happening.
yeah, but he's married and he seems pretty happy.
You think?
I hope so. God.
He
What
actually
if he
paid
sees that girl on a
attention to her.
train, though?
Yeah.
Then it's just career's done.
He'll just have to walk around in the rain until he finds her.
Yeah. One of the other things I like about Shinkai's work is, so he is really big on, with his imagery, I always feel like he's trying to get me to smell or feel things. Like,
Yes.
you feel like you can feel the rain when you see that rain coming down.
yeah.
You could smell what that, you know.
He
that,
has like unique angles too
Yeah.
for things,
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
the undercarriage of the train wheel. That to me was like, whoa! I don't think I've ever seen anybody use that kind of.
Yeah, that's definitely
shot
one of the things I
before.
put in my notes. He just focused so much on bringing high detail to just the most mundane things and bringing beauty in places that you just never would expect it, and makes you sort of appreciate just random everyday situations that much more.
Yeah,
I
I
know
think
exactly what those cell phones look like.
Yep.
he really tries to build, he uses imagery to build nostalgia for us. And it's interesting to have watched some of his stuff when I was younger to watching his stuff now, because now I feel like I watch it and like you get that like longing for like missing like that crush, or like those like summer days with like your friends and that weather and those feelings you had back then when you were younger. So you pull a lot of nostalgic feelings out of it now that like I might not have like gotten like when I was like 17 and watching 5 centimeters per second compared to like watching like Your Name and stuff now at like an older age. It's
Mhm.
I don't know. I guess that's what I really get out of his imagery and what he's kind of go for. So I don't know if anybody else agrees or
No, I'd say that's fair.
gets anything out of it. So
Maybe I'm just not old enough to feel the nostalgia. In this
Yeah,
movie.
you're
Yeah.
youngin' over there.
you're not. I think us three are all in our 30s, right?
Sure.
I'm 40, but yeah.
40, yeah. So and you're
Yeah.
still in your 20s.
I'm turning 26 in 2 days.
Okay,
Ooh.
you're getting closer. So
That
give
means
it
we get cupcakes, right?
I mean, it'll
Enough
be
for the whole class.
hopefully.
Mhm. So does anybody else have any thoughts of kind of what they watched or anything they kind of came up with ideas, themes, and stuff from his work?
I'm just gonna say that I never noticed the whole montage thing being a repetitive theme in his movies until we did this. So I'm not really sure I should thank this project for pointing that out to me.
Yeah. Well, there's 3 things that I know he loves. He loves rain. He loves trains, and he has a weird foot fetish. So really, I don't know. Did you notice that? The foot fetish thing?
Only in Garden of Words because
Yeah.
he's a shoe designer.
I can't remember, but there's a couple other scenes I remember with foot stuff, like scenes with feet that are like really like artsy and beautiful looking. And for me, I just fall into like the whole Quentin Tarantino thing with like, here's this beautiful angle of feet. And it's just kind of like Garden of Words, I'm like, yeah, I can see he's drawing the feet, but that's a real like, so I don't know if there's like
Small little details.
feet.
I don't know.
Good note to end on.
Yeah. So, does anybody else have anything else on like the Shinkai's work? I think all 4 of us here are probably gonna go see Weathering with
Yes.
you.
Oh, yeah,
I
at
some
can
point,
pretty much
definitely.
imagine that. So,
I like outside of the fact that I don't even know the plot line, but it's like the trailers I've seen, she can fly or do things in the rain. Of course, there's rain.
of course.
And I'm like, what is the plot of this? But now that
Oh.
we've been talking about this, I'm
You don't
going,
know?
no, I don't want spoilers.
Okay.
I just
Yeah.
want to show up to the theater and be like, what
Yeah.
is this? So
I'll
figure it out.
Who wants to bet me there's gonna be feet in this one?
I'm gonna watch for that now.
I bet you there is. I'm gonna hear you laughing in the theater, and I'm gonna
Start
like, yep.
laughing the most inopportune time. It'll be great.
100%.
And then I will cringe when the music montage plays.
Yeah, Thomas has just ruined the entire movie for us, and we haven't even seen it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think for me, I really like him working in short stuff, like under 30 minutes. So it sounds like he's really into the theatrical stuff, but I really hope he returns to doing 14-minute, 6-minute, 4-minute shorts. Just because I feel like he can do a lot in that like short time period and stuff. Like Your Name is great, don't get me wrong, but like I just really like. I finally remember the name of the other short. It's called Someone's Gaze. And I think to me that might actually be my favorite thing I've ever seen by him. But like I said, I'm not taking anything away from Your Name.
And I think sometimes when creators are given freedom, they just go all out and don't rein themselves in. So if you give them restrictions, they're forced to have to make it more concise and make it better.
Yeah.
So yeah, I can see him doing better in short film work.
Cool.
Yeah.
So yeah, Voices of a Distant Star is an old ADV title. I don't think it's
It's out
readily
of print.
available,
It is.
but I have seen it streaming a couple places.
Yeah,
I
I watched it
Yeah.
on Crunchyroll.
Yeah, 5 centimeters per second is a Discotech Blu-ray, so you can pick that one up. Garden of Words is a Sentai Blu-ray, you can pick that one up in Your Name. I don't believe we have any of the LEs anymore, but we still do have the regular Blu-rays from Funimation.
Yep.
So, and then the other ones that we didn't talk about, Children Who Chase Lost Voices is Sentai
Sentai.
Select.
Yep.
Yeah.
And then the Place Promised in our early days is also an ADV title that isn't very readily accessible, but I think it might be streaming on Crunchyroll, but don't hold me to that one.
Yeah.
So
I don't know.
yeah, you can pretty much catch almost all of his stuff and get ready for Weathering with You, which I think is going to get a nice theatrical push again. So hopefully a lot of you will be able to see it. So cool. So what's going on at Right Stuff right now? So as of the time this podcast is coming out, which is going to be tomorrow or Sunday?
I could make it whenever.
Oh, it's Sunday.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. As of the time this podcast is coming out, we are running a Kodansha Dark Horse sale.
Woo!
So week-long special on all the Kodansha Dark Horse titles, 33% off. So if there's anything you've been wanting to collect, Vinland Saga, Fire Force,
Magus of the Library.
yes.
Personal favorite.
There's Attack on Titan if you are
yeah.
dying to figure out.
Fairy Tale has a new box set.
Oh, Fairy
All
Tail.
the
Yep.
Kodansha box sets are in
Yep.
there, right?
Yeah.
Magic Ray Earth's in there.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Akira,
Akira.
the few we have left.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that is out of print, people.
Yeah, get
Ben
that.
Angelita.
That is the only way you can
Yeah.
get those the Akira manga flipped, by the
Yeah.
way, because the regular ones they have are not flipped. So, and that set is just awesome too. So
It is huge.
I need to get it. I need to take out a loan.
Yeah.
we are also finished. Today is going to be the last day of our back to school sale. So just some titles picked out to hopefully give you something to do in your spare time when you're doing homework. And then it'll be the last week of our we're running a special on some of the Studio Ghibli titles as well. There's also a couple of Shout Factory titles in there as well that are a low price right now, so go ahead and check those out. All right, and then just a quick update on the Kyon Annie charity that we did last month. We finally got a final number in, and we were able to raise $28,000 altogether for Kyo Annie that we will be submitting. Will already be submitted by the time this podcast comes out. So we were super happy with the fans coming out in droves and
Kudos to the
donating.
fandom.
Yes, it's very awesome. And yeah, $28K, that's awesome. That's the best I think we've ever raised for any charity that we've done too. So it just kind of shows that how much we care about the people that are in our industry, stuff like that.
Definitely.
So
Well
thank
done,
you very
everybody.
much to all the listeners out there and everybody who donated to this awesome charity. We have 2 conventions coming up. We have Anime Fusion coming up in October and NebraskaCon coming up at the last weekend of October/November. Anime Fusion is in Plymouth, Minnesota, right outside of Minneapolis, and NebraskaCon is in Omaha. So if any of you guys are anywhere near there and you guys are heading to that convention, stop by and say hi. We are hosting, I think, 5 panels at Anime Fusion.
my.
Wow.
Whoa.
Yay.
We can do it.
Yeah, and we'll have a really big, nice booth at both conventions. NebraskaCon, I think we only have 2 panels. I think it's just our industry panel and our trivia panel. So go ahead, stop by, say hi to us. We always like to meet the fans. And that'll conclude our convention season with NebraskaCon. We will be full-fledged into holiday mode by that point. So speaking of which, holiday is right around the corner, and the merchandising team is already getting ready to send out our emails to all of our friends at Kodansha, Dark Horse, Funimation, Sentai. You think about it, they're probably one of them, and getting a nice, awesome sale ready for you guys starting in November. So,
Yeah, my wallet is already crying.
Yeah, we always get the joy of seeing what's going to be in the sale and writing down all the stuff we're going to buy.
Yeah, we don't pre-shop at all. I don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah, but there's going to be some great titles in there on sale. We'll have our mega deals like always, which you can always get great low prices for one day on items. So our Viz weekly specials, we're going to have some awesome Viz titles in there as well. So, and then we're going to kind of end the podcast with... next Wednesday, we are going to have a new title that'll be getting announced on our social media website. It's a pretty awesome title. It's an older one, but I'm happy that we were able to get a hold of it and going to be able to release it. So keep an eye out on our social media page for this Wednesday. We'll have the announcement there, and it'll be up for pre-order right away. So I'm excited to watch this title. So cool. Well, I think that's about does it. If you guys have any questions for us here at the Right Stuff Anime Podcast, you can always email us at rspodcast@rightstuff.com.
Yeah.
And this time we won't be gone as long. We will be back in 2 weeks, so don't fret that much. So, well, that does it for us here at the podcast, and we will see you guys again in 2 weeks. Bye.
Later, y'all.
The views and opinions expressed in this podcast are those of the participants and do not necessarily reflect the official policy or position of Right Stuff Anime. We'd love to hear from you. Send us your questions or comments to rspodcast@rightstuff.com, and we might just answer them in a future episode. That's rspodcast@rightstuff.com.